my name's Helen Miller, and I'm 72 years old. This morning, I finally paid off my son's student loan. It wasn't a big moment, just me sitting alone at my kitchen table, sipping lukewarm instant coffee and picking at a piece of dry toast. Like I do every day, I opened my old laptop to check emails and bank balances. But today, I stopped at one screen: his loan balance. $50,143.22. It took me 5 long years to save that kind of money. I never told anyone, not even him. I gave up a lot to make it happen. I dropped my insurance plan, cut off cable, and stopped buying anything I didn't absolutely need. I just wanted to lift that weight off his shoulders. That's what moms do. I clicked send, and in seconds, the transfer went through. I thought I'd feel proud or maybe relieved, but honestly, I just felt exhausted. A few minutes later, Derek, my son, called. Just hearing his name made me smile. I could hear Tara, his girlfriend, laughing in the background, like always, at all the wrong times. I just paid it, I told him. The loan's gone. He said, cool, appreciate it. Then, after a pause, came the punch in the gut. Tara's not really comfortable with you staying in the house anymore. I froze. I thought maybe I heard him wrong. He tried to make it sound casual, like it wasn't personal, but how could it not be? I raised him on my own, took him in after his divorce, supported him through everything. You want me to leave? I asked, my voice cracking. I could hear them whispering on the other end. Then he said, Tara, can't relax with you here. I reminded him, I just gave you $50,000, he said, and I said thank you, then hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, not sure if I should scream or cry. That evening, they came home like everything was fine. Tara didn't say a word. Derek didn't either, not until he came to the kitchen for a soda. I'll need a few weeks, I said. He didn't even look at me. We were hoping sooner, he replied. Tara's parents might come stay. That night, I started looking at places I couldn't afford. My savings were gone, used up on him. The next morning, I began packing. No big talk, no yelling, just quiet. I packed up clothes, old photos, letters, nothing fancy, just my life. As I sealed the box, Derek walked in with his arms crossed. You don't need to make a scene, he said. I'm not, I told him. I looked at his face, hoping to see a flicker of guilt. Nothing, just cold. We'll need the spare room cleared by next Friday, he added, then walked away. I stared at the door. He closed the same door that used to stay open when he was a little boy afraid of the dark. I walked over to my purse, pulled out the bank receipt from paying off his loan, and tucked it into the box with the photos. That's when it hit me. This wasn't some misunderstanding. It was a decision. His decision, and if he could choose to push me out, then I could choose how I left. I wouldn't go quietly, and I sure wouldn't leave with nothing. The next few days, I packed in silence. No one offered to help. Tara barely even looked at me. Derek acted like I was invisible. I got in his way. One afternoon, I came home from the store with just a few essentials for myself. I didn't touch anything that belonged to them anymore. As I walked through the back door, I heard them laughing in the living room, acting like life was perfect. Tara saw me, nudged Derek, and whispered something. He walked over. You didn't have to buy anything, he said. We already did a grocery run. I told him, these are just for me. Then I walked past him. One of the egg cartons cracked and leaked. I didn't flinch. I just set it aside and wiped the counter like it was any other day. All I could think about was the day Derek moved in, heartbroken, jobless, carrying 2 duffel bags and a busted laptop. I gave him the bigger room. I cooked his meals, packed his lunches, helped him fix up his resume. I never asked for a dime. Now, I was in the way. That night, I texted my sister, Linda. Just a short message saying things were getting uncomfortable and I might need a place to stay. She called me right away. What the hell is going on? She asked. I told her everything from the loan to the call to the way they acted like I didn't exist. She didn't interrupt. She just listened. Then she said, Helen, come stay. Here, I've got a guest room. You are not staying in that house another day. I thanked her, but I wasn't ready, not yet. The next morning, I posted an old family photo. Me, Derek, and his sister Michelle, when they were kids. I wrote, time goes fast. Remember who stood by you. 10 minutes later, Michelle texted, is everything okay with Derek? I hadn't planned to tell her, but I did. I told her everything. Her reply came fast. What? Are you serious? He kicked you out? I said yes, and asked her not to tell anyone else. She promised, but I could feel how angry she was. You deserve better, she said. I'm coming by this weekend, and for the first time in days, I didn't feel so alone. That afternoon, I didn't feel alone for the first time in days. I went into the garage to find an old box of papers. There was something I needed to check. Years ago, I had added Derek's name to some of the house paperwork. Back when I still trusted him completely, I wanted to make sure I hadn't made a mistake. After digging around behind the water heater, I found it. My hands were shaking, not from sadness this time, but from something else. A spark, excitement, hope. My name was still listed as the primary on the mortgage. Derek's. Just a secondary contact, not a co-owner. I checked it twice to be sure. That night, while they were out, I saw that Tara had posted one of her usual wine glass selfies on Instagram. I sat in the quiet living room with a legal pad, doing math. I added up the house's value, what I still owed, and what I could do with the money. And just like that, an idea clicked into place. Derek wanted me gone. Fine, but he forgot one little detail: still owned this house, and I wasn't finished with it yet. From that moment on, I moved differently. Not out of anger but with purpose. I pulled out every document. I had bank statements, mortgage info, utility bills. This house wasn't just a roof anymore. It was power. I paid the down payment. I kept the lights on. I made every single sacrifice to keep it standing. And now, it was mine to use. The next morning, while I was at the kitchen table sorting through paperwork, Derek walked in. "What's all this?" he asked. "Just getting my affairs in order," I said. He didn't say anything else, just grabbed a protein shake and walked off like it was any other day. No questions, no guilt. Later that day, Michelle, his sister, posted an old picture of us at the park. Her caption read, "Some people forget who showed up for them. I never will." Derek called right after. "Can you ask Michelle to take that down?" he said. "It's making things awkward." I told him I hadn't asked her to post it. "Yeah, well, it's kinda making me look bad," he added. I paused, then replied, "You didn't need any help with that." And I hung up. A few days later, I ran into Nancy, our neighbor, while out for a walk. She asked how I was doing. I didn't sugarcoat it. "I'm being pushed out by my own son." She was shocked. Then she said something that stuck. "You should sell the house. Let them find somewhere else to live." I laughed, but inside, something shifted. That word "sell" suddenly didn't sound sad. It sounded like freedom. The very next day, I called Mike, a real estate agent I knew. We met while Derek and Tara were out. I gave him a quiet tour and told him I was just considering my options. He said if I wanted to sell quickly, I'd need to clean and stage the place. "You still have people living here?" he asked. "My son and his girlfriend," I said. "But they'll be leaving soon." He nodded. "How fast are you looking to move this?" "I don't know yet," I said. He handed me his card. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about the birthday parties, the late-night chores, Derek's trophies, still collecting dust in the closet. Then I remembered how they had treated me, like I was an extra, an inconvenience. I got up and opened the closet. Inside was a box of Derek's old things, his comics, trophies, photos. I sat on the floor flipping through them. One photo showed him, at 8 years old, holding a ribbon with a big smile, like he believed the world belonged to him. That little boy was gone, replaced by someone who saw his own mother as a problem. I picked up my phone and texted Mike, "Let's talk numbers. I'm ready to move forward." I didn't feel scared or guilty. I felt clear. For the first time in years, I was doing something for me. When Mike called the next morning, he said, "If we clean and list it right, you could get around $320,000, maybe more." I nearly dropped the phone. That number hit hard. I'd been stuck in survival mode for so long, I forgot there was still something to be gained. That money wouldn't just get me out. It would give me a whole new start. "Okay," I said calmly. "What's the next step?" He explained everything: photos, staging, the listing. But the house had to be empty. "It's not empty yet," I said. "Can you make that happen?" He asked. "I'm working on it," I replied. I didn't tell him Derek and Tara still had no clue. They thought I was leaving like a quiet little burden, disappearing without a fuss. But I had a plan. Over the next few days, I cleaned the house like I was getting it ready for guests, not just for me. I packed up my things, cleared out Derek's junk in the garage, and swapped Tara's loud curtains for something simple. I didn't touch their personal stuff, but I prepared the house like it was about to be seen, and the photographer came while they were out. I timed everything perfectly. That weekend, I listed the house on Airbnb. The first booking came in hours later, a couple from Cincinnati, in town for a wedding. Perfect. I cleaned every inch of the house myself, kitchen, sheets, baseboards. Derek noticed but said nothing. Maybe he thought I was just being nice. The day before the guests arrived, I told him, I'll be staying with Linda for a bit. Don't worry about the key, I'll leave it on the counter. He didn't even look up. Cool, just let us know when you're totally out. Totally out, that's what I was now. From Linda's house, I watched the Airbnb guest check in through the app. Sunday morning, Derek texted me, "Hey, were you expecting someone? There's a car in the driveway." I replied, "Yeah, a friend picked something up." And just like that, the house was no longer his space, it was mine again. He didn't reply. 2 days later, another Airbnb booking came through. I timed the guest's arrival perfectly while Derek and Tara were out again. Meanwhile, Mike sent over the final home listing. It looked clean, bright, and welcoming. You'd never guess 2 freeloaders were still living inside. The first buyer walkthrough was set for next week. Mike reminded me the house had to be fully empty by then. I knew what that meant. I had a choice. Tell Derek straight up, or let the process speak for itself. I chose the second. This wasn't about revenge. It was about finally choosing me. For too long, I'd put my comfort last. Not anymore. The walkthrough was set for Thursday, 1 to 2 p.m. I checked Tara's Instagram. She was always posting everything, and, just like clockwork, they'd be out at an art exhibit. Perfect. I arrived early to make sure the house looked its best. The Airbnb guests had checked out that morning, so everything was spotless. I fluffed the pillows, opened the closet doors, turned on all the lights. It felt surreal, like I was staging a stranger's house. Not my own. Mike arrived with a young couple from Columbus, first-time buyers. They were wide-eyed and polite, clearly excited. I stayed quiet while Mike gave them the tour, watching them smile room to room. I could tell they liked it. After they left, Mike said they were interested and might want a second look. "How fast could we close?" I asked. "Under 3 weeks, depending on their financing," he said. "But the house needs to be empty." I knew what I had to do. Back at Linda's, I couldn't eat, not from guiltless nerves. I texted Michelle, selling the house. "Don't tell him yet. I'll explain soon." She replied fast. "Oh my God, I'm proud of you. He doesn't deserve to live there after what he did." The next day, Mike called. "We got an offer, $318,000. Fast, close." I didn't even hesitate. "Let's do it," I said. It was happening: paperwork, escrow, the whole deal. That weekend, I went back while they were out shopping. I'd seen the shopping bags earlier, fancy stuff, like they were planning to stay forever. That only made me move quicker. I boxed up my dishes, took down my framed photos, double drawers. Then I heard the garage door. I froze. They came in, laughing. Tara had bags in both hands. Derek saw me near the front door. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Just grabbing the rest of my things," I said calmly. Tara looked around. "Did you move the curtains?" I didn't answer. Derek stepped closer. "What's going on?" "I'm selling the house," I said, flat. "Offers in." "We close in a few weeks." He blinked like I'd slapped him. "What, you don't own it?" "Yes, I do," I said. "You're not on the deed." Tara jumped in. "You didn't even tell us." "I didn't owe you that," I said. Derek looked stunned, angry, confused, hurt, but he didn't say anything else. I picked up my box, walked right past him, and out the door. I sat in the car for a minute. No tears, no panic, just breathing. For the first time in years, I was doing something for me. I waited for the explosion: Derek blowing up my phone, Tara posting some cryptic drama online, but nothing came. Number calls, no texts, just silence. Maybe they were scrambling, or maybe in denial. Maybe they were even asking friends if what I did was legal. I didn't care. I had the deed. I had Mike. I had the power now. Back at Linda's, I told her everything. She laughed. "They thought they could kick you out and keep the house. Unbelievable." I didn't laugh with her, not because I wasn't relieved, but because I knew it wasn't over yet. Selling the house was just the beginning. Derek and Tara were still living there. I didn't want to go to court, so I used the last tool I had: Airbnb. I dropped the price, extended the stay length, and the bookings rolled in. One came in immediately: 2 full weeks, right in the middle of closing. That would force them to act. I texted Derek. Just a heads up. The house will be occupied starting Monday. I need you and Tara out by then. 5 minutes later. You're kidding, right? You're bringing strangers in while we're still here. I replied, already did. Twice. You didn't even notice. Then came another text. We have nowhere to go. That one hit me for a second. I'd been in that place before. Lost, broke, scared, but I'd figured it out. Maybe it was Derek's turn. Sunday night, I went back to prep the house one last time. Most of their stuff was still their furniture. Clothes, Tara's curling iron still plugged in. I panicked and messaged Mike. What if they don't leave by closing? He replied right away. Sale gets delayed. You'll have to evict. That word evict felt like a punch, but I wasn't letting this fall apart. Not now. Monday morning, the new Airbnb guest arrived right on time. A traveling nurse. I met her at the door with the key. She peeked past me. Is someone else staying here too? She asked. I turned around. Derek was standing in the hallway, arms crossed. Not anymore, I said. She walked in. I waited. 10 minutes later, Derek came out with 2 duffel bags, his jaw tight. You seriously went through with this? You seriously thought I wouldn't? I said. He stood there like he wanted to say something big, but he didn't. He just shook his head, tossed his bags in the trunk, and drove off. Alone. Tara wasn't with him. I found out later she'd already left the night before to stay with a friend. Too much tension, she said. I didn't care. That chapter was closed. The guest stayed without any issues, left a 5-star review and a kind note. And just like that, the house was quiet, clean, peaceful, mine again, at least for a little while longer. I sat in my car for a long time that day. I didn't feel proud, and I wasn't angry anymore, either, just tired, the kind of tired that settles deep in your bones after you've spent years carrying someone else's weight. When I got back to Linda's, I told her everything. She listened quietly, nodding as I spoke, but she could tell there was something still heavy sitting on my chest. I hadn't said it out loud yet, but I needed to. I needed to hear Michelle's voice. So I called her. She picked up on the first ring. Hey, what's going on? He's gone, I said. Silence. Then, I added, I sold the house, got an offer, closing in 2 weeks. Good, she said right away. I'm glad you did what you had to do. I paused, then asked, do you think I went too far? Her answer came sharp. Mom, he kicked you out after you paid off his debt. If anything, you didn't go far enough. I swallowed hard. I just keep thinking, did I create this? Did I make it too easy for him? Michelle was quiet for a moment. Then she said, you loved him. That's not a mistake. We talked a while longer. She offered to fly in for the closing, but I told her it wasn't necessary. Truth was, I didn't even know where I'd go. After, I hadn't thought past the sale. That night, I finally sat down and made a list. Not big dreams or life goals, just steps. Find an apartment, hire a mover, close the sale, start over. Writing it down made it all feel more real. The next day Mike called. Final inspections next week. I'll be there in case anything comes up. Is there anything I need to do? Just keep it clean. No new surprises. I laughed. I think we've handled the worst of it. You've done a hell of a job, Helen, he said. That meant more than he knew. That evening, I opened one last box from the house. Letters, school papers, old photos. One was of Derek at 12, standing next to his science project. I remembered that night we'd stayed up working on it. Skipped dinner, and I made him sandwiches at midnight. I didn't feel mad looking at the photo, just far away. That boy had been real. He'd existed, but the man he became, I didn't recognize him anymore. I framed the photo, not to forgive, not to forget, just to remember that there had been good moments too. They didn't erase the rest, but they were still real. 2 days later, I got a text from Derek. I heard from the bank. So it's really happening, huh? I stared at it for a while, then replied, yes, it's done. No response, and that was okay. On the day of the final inspection, I showed up 15 minutes early. I wanted everything perfect. The Airbnb guest had checked out 2 days before, and I had deep cleaned everything, the floors, the bathrooms, every cabinet and corner. I wasn't letting anything get in the way of this. Mike arrived on time, as calm as ever. They'll be here in a few, he said, unlocking the door. We waited quietly in the living room while the buyers and their inspector looked around. They were polite, didn't nitpick, asked a few routine questions. When they left, Mike gave me a thumbs up. This is going to close fast. But as soon as I got back to Linda's, I got the message I'd half been expecting from Derek. I talked to someone. You can't sell the house without my consent. My name's on stuff too. I didn't even blink. I just forwarded it to Anna, the attorney Mike had recommended. She'd already checked everything. Derek wasn't on the deed, had no legal claim to the property. Still, I asked her to call him directly. She called me back later that day. He's bluffing, she said. Once I walked him through the documents, he backed off. Did he say anything else? She hesitated. He said, "You're trying to humiliate him." I exhaled slowly. I'm not trying to humiliate him. I'm trying to be free of him. You're almost there, Anna replied. That night, Linda and I sat at the kitchen table going over the numbers again. After all the fees, I'd walk away with about $300,000. Enough to get a new apartment, maybe even take a small trip, something just for me. Linda looked at me and asked, "Do you feel like you won?" I didn't answer right away. I stared down at the papers, sipping my tea, then finally said, "I don't feel like I won. I feel like I stopped losing." She nodded. That's enough. The next day, Michelle called. I talked to Derek. He's a mess, mad, then dismissive. Said you blindsided him. I replied, he blindsided me when he told me to get out. I just turned the lights on. Michelle offered to speak up publicly for me, to defend me if Derek started twisting the story. But I told her no. This isn't about public opinion. I just want to close the chapter, and I was ready. The documents were signed. The closing date was set. I booked a mover, started apartment hunting, and packed up the last of my things at Linda's. All that was left now was to show up and sign. No drama, no surprises, at least, that's what I thought. Closing day started quietly. I got dressed, reviewed the paperwork Anna had sent, and drove Linda's car to the title office. We were scheduled for noon. I hadn't told anyone, not Derek, not even Michelle. This was something I had to finish on my own. I needed to finish this on my own. The office was quiet, clean, nothing fancy. Mike was already there, flipping through paperwork with his usual calm smile. The buyers sat across the room, whispering softly to each other. Everything felt smooth and normal, like this was just another day, another sale. We moved through the paperwork, initials, signatures, page after page. Then we reached the last one, the transfer of title. I picked up the pen. Just as it touched the page, the door opened. Derek walked in. He didn't say anything at first, just scanned the room until his eyes found mine. "I need to stop this," he said loudly. Mike stood. "You can't be in here, Derek. This isn't your property. This is my home," he snapped. "My stuff is still in there. You think you can just throw me out and sell it like I never mattered?" I looked straight at him. Calm, clear. "You told me to leave," I said. "So I did." His voice cracked. "That's not what I meant. You blindsided me. You didn't even give me a chance to fix it. You had months," I said. "You watched me pack my things and never said a word. You told me Tara wasn't comfortable with me there. You asked me to clear the room. What did you think was going to happen?" He stepped back like I'd slapped him. "I paid off your student loans," I continued, my voice steady. "I paid for the house. I let you live there for free. And the second you got comfortable, you turned on me." The room was silent. Even the buyers looked away, suddenly fascinated by the carpet. Derek pulled a folder from his backpack. "I talked to a lawyer. I paid utilities, did repairs. That counts for something." Mike didn't flinch. "Not in Ohio, it doesn't. You're not on the deed. You never paid rent. You have no legal standing." Derek looked at me again, this time softer. "So that's it? You're just done with me?" I nodded. "I'm done letting you take from me. I'll never stop loving you, but I'm done shrinking so you can stretch." He stood there for a second, frozen in place. Then he turned around and walked out. I sat back down, my hand shaking just a little, and signed the final page. It was over. After the meeting, I didn't go back to Linda's right away. I drove past the house one last time. The curtains I'd hung were still there. The porch light was on, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like something I used to carry, something I'd finally set down. Back at Linda's, she didn't say anything. Just slid a mug of coffee across the table. He came, tried to stop it, I said quietly. She raised an eyebrow, and I signed anyway. She smiled. Good. I didn't cry. I didn't cheer. I just sat there holding that mug, letting the quiet settle in around me because now, finally, it was real. I was free. 2 days after closing, I signed a lease on a small 2-bedroom apartment just outside Dayton. It wasn't fancy, but it was quiet, clean mine. I paid 6 months up front from the sale money and put the rest in a savings account under my name only. I didn't bring much, just the basics: clothes, a few dishes, a couple of framed photos, and a small wooden box filled with receipts and documents, proof of everything I'd done for Derek, not to hold it over him, but to remind myself what it had cost. That first night, I didn't unpack. I just sat on the couch, surrounded by silence that didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt peaceful. I wasn't in anyone's way. I didn't have to lower my voice or avoid eye contact. I didn't have to shrink. I could just exist. Michelle came by that weekend. She brought a plant and 2 bottles of sparkling water. "You need something green in here," she said, setting the pot near the window. We didn't say much. We just sat and watched an old cooking show. It was the most peaceful I'd felt in years. Later that night, she asked, "Have you heard from Derek?" "No," I said. "Do you want to?" I thought about it. "Not yet," I said. And I meant it. I wasn't mad anymore, not in the same way. I just wasn't ready to open that door, unless I knew for sure I wouldn't walk right back through it. A few days later, a letter arrived. No return address, just 1 page, Derek's handwriting. No apology, no long speech, just 1 line. I didn't realize what I lost until it was gone. I folded it carefully and placed it in the wooden box. Maybe one day we'll talk, maybe not. That part isn't urgent anymore. What matters is I've stopped waiting for permission to live. I spent years putting everyone else first. I don't regret the love I gave. But now I understand. Love without boundaries is how you disappear, piece by piece. This chapter isn't about revenge. It's about coming home to myself. I make my coffee how I like it. I leave dishes in the sink if I feel like it. I take walks without checking in. I say no without guilt. And yes, without fear. The woman who walked out of that house wasn't broken. She was just done being quiet. And she didn't walk away empty-handed. She walked away with herself. That's today's story. If it touched you, leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget, share your own life lesson in the comments below.